Welcome back to Signals and Standards with Suzie. In this space, empowerment meets real life growth, and where we talk openly about identity, relationships, and the big, bold pivots that shape who you're becoming. Today's episode dives deep into something so many of us secretly struggle with. How do you reinvent yourself and grow without apologizing for outgrowing other people? If you've been feeling that pull to evolve, maybe create new boundaries, establish new standards, discover some new identity shifts, but you're worried people won't get you or understand, this episode is your permission slip to go full steam ahead. Reinvention isn't random. It's intentional. It's psychological. It's healing. And yes, sometimes it means outgrowing people who can't accompany you to your next level. If you're craving personal reinvention, identity expansion, healthier connections, and the confidence to pivot unapologetically, you're exactly where you need to be. Take a breath. You made it. Welcome to Signals and Standards with Suzie, where we decode mixed messages, elevate your standards, and deliver practical insights that you can act on. I'm your empowerment coach, Suzie, here to guide you from confusion to clarity, helping you reclaim your power and create the relationships and life you deserve. So let's dive deep. Reinvention is often framed as this dramatic overnight transformation, but the truth is far more nuanced and far more empowering. Reinvention isn't about erasing who you are. It's about becoming the fullest, most authentic version of yourself. It's about noticing the parts of you that no longer serve your growth and courageously choosing to develop yourself, expand, grow, and at times let go. Psychologists call this positive identity construction. It's the idea that identity isn't static or fixed. It's constantly evolving as you evolve by integrating positive and negative experiences, insights, and also your choices into who you are. Every decision you make, every boundary you set, every experience you lean into contributes to this ongoing self-reinvention and growth. Think of your identity like a house. When you renovate, you don't tear it down entirely, right? Instead, you update the paint, you may add new rooms, you change the decor, and you can also strengthen the foundation. Sometimes you completely remove furniture that no longer fits the space or your evolving style. Relationships are the same. People who once fit perfectly into your life may no longer align with your evolving identity or your growth, and that's okay. It really is, because it doesn't mean they're bad or wrong. It just means your life is moving in a direction that requires a new configuration. Research on emotional outgrowth emphasizes this. As you grow emotionally and mentally, some relationships naturally plateau because the other person's patterns or emotional maturity don't align with your evolution. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's okay. Outgrowing is a sign that you're expanding, not that you failed. You know, friends for a season and all that, right? Let me share a story. I had a client who came to me frustrated and guilty. She had recently begun prioritizing her creative goals, and she felt really compelled to do it. She was attending workshops and spending more time on her emotional growth. But she noticed that some of her closest friends seemed uncomfortable with all this. She even sensed that some were resentful. Every time she wanted to decline a social obligation, she felt really guilty, like she was betraying them or their friendship. Through coaching, though, she realized something important. The guilt wasn't because she was wrong. It was because she had outgrown the space where those friends could fully support her evolution. It was hard to admit that these people who were a big part of her life no longer fit in the same way. And that's okay. The dynamic can change in friendships. It doesn't have to stay the same. When she began setting clear boundaries and following her internal compass, she experienced relief, clarity, and even joy in her relationships. The key takeaway: growth will constantly challenge the status quo of your relationships, but that challenge is a signal, not a punishment. Here's another perspective supported by research. Friendships and social connections are really essential to our mental and emotional health, but not all friendships are sustainable across all life stages. Studies highlight that as we grow, our emotional, intellectual, and value-based needs shift. Friendships that once served us might become limiting or draining if they don't evolve alongside us. And here's the subtle truth: the moment you start outgrowing someone is usually the moment your alignment energy shifts. You feel it in your body, the slight tension, the sense of restriction, the feeling of needing space. That's your intuition whispering, it's time to evolve. Boundaries are the bridge between personal reinvention and healthy relationships. Boundaries aren't walls. They're protective tools that maintain your mental health, reduce stress, and create respect. In other words, boundaries allow you to grow without losing yourself and other people's expectation or emotional baggage. Think of boundaries as the garden fences of your life. They don't keep the world out, they create space for what you want to cultivate. Without them, your emotional soil becomes overrun and your growth stalls. Let's lean into a metaphor here. Imagine a sculptor standing before a raw block of marble. Reinvention is not random chiseling, it's careful, intentional process of revealing the figure that has always been within. Each boundary you set, each relationship you let go, each habit you change, it's all a deliberate strike towards the masterpiece of your evolving self. It can be uncomfortable, even painful, but marble doesn't yield easily, does it? Each strike is progress. Each layer removed reveals more of the person you're meant to become. Now let's talk about guilt. The silent shadow that often accompanies reinvention. Many people hold themselves back because they feel guilty for outgrowing someone. This is where emotional intelligence comes in. Psychologists note that guilt in these situations often arises not from doing wrong, but from caring deeply about other people's perceptions. It's the internalized social pressure. If I grow or change, will they still like me? Here's the thing. You cannot make someone else's growth your responsibility, just as you cannot make your evolution someone else's comfort zone. Your growth is sacred. It's necessary. It's non-negotiable. Here's a real-life example from my own journey. Years ago, I had a friendship that had been an important part of my life. I cared about this person very much, but over time I noticed a pattern. The friendship only thrived when I stayed in the old version of myself, the one who avoided confrontation, minimized my desires, put them first, and played small to keep the peace. And really, who fit within the parameters of what they felt friendships should look like. The moment I started embracing my voice, creating boundaries, and leading into personal growth, the dynamic shifted. There were uncomfortable conversations, there were moments of tension, and yes, I did feel guilt, lots of it, but stepping into my authentic self revealed something powerful. My growth was not a threat. It was an invitation for alignment. Some people stepped forward, some people stepped back. And that was the ultimate lesson for me. Reinvention always requires the courage to let go of what no longer fits. Remember that reinvention is contagious too. As you evolve, your energy radiates outward. It challenges those around you to reflect, stretch, and perhaps reinvent themselves as well. That's why reinvention is not only a personal act, it's relational and transformational. You can also inspire others by choosing alignment over comfort, boundaries over obligation, and your growth over guilt. You're actually modeling a life of empowered evolution. And here's the most liberating part. You don't need anyone's approval to do it. You only need your own permission. So let's dive into today's coaching moment, inspired by what you've been asking me and what I'm hearing again and again from clients. Themes that constantly emerge revolve around navigating guilt, setting boundaries, and staying aligned as we move on from people and things. Remember, you can reach out anytime with your questions or messages at powercoachsuzie.com, and I'd love to hear from you. Here's the question. I feel guilty for wanting more out of life when my friends seem comfortable staying the same. Every time I set a boundary, people around me, like friends and loved ones, say I'm being dramatic or distant, even selfish. And sometimes I wonder if I'm avoiding conflict rather than truly outgrowing someone. How do I know if I'm doing all this right? Okay, take a deep breath because you're not alone. This question underscores a core truth. Growth is uncomfortable but necessary. Here are some steps you can take to overcome this bump in the road. Step 1, understanding guilt. Guilt is natural when you evolve. It signals that you care about other people's feelings. But there's a difference between guilt that comes from harming someone unnecessarily and guilt from honoring your growth. Ask yourself, am I feeling guilty because I'm stepping into my truth? Or am I feeling guilty because I fear other people's judgment or disapproval? Think of it this way. Imagine a balloon. Suppress it to keep others comfortable and it loses its shape. Growth requires space. If you shrink yourself to avoid discomfort, you end up deflating all the good stuff you're doing. So try this. Write down areas where you feel guilty for outgrowing someone. Next to each note, is this guilt protecting me or protecting them? Seeing it on paper can help you clarify the difference between fear and growth. Step number 2, boundaries as your compass. Boundaries are your internal GPS. They tell others, this is what I need to thrive. Discomfort from others is information. It's not a reflection of your wrongness. Example, a listener's partner accused her of being distant whenever she asked for alone time. I reminded her, boundaries are data, not judgment. Their reaction is their truth, not yours. So here's a practical tip. Use neutral language. Instead of, you never respect my space, try, I need an hour of quiet to recharge. This helps me show up fully in our relationship. Notice the shift from conflict to clarity? Boundaries reveal who belongs in your next chapter. Step number 3, outgrowing versus avoidance. Avoidance comes from fear. Outgrowing, it comes from alignment. So ask yourself, do I feel relieved, energized, lighter when I'm away from this person or these people? Do I feel restricted, drained, or compelled to shrink around them? Am I acting from fear or clarity about who I'm becoming? Relief equals outgrowing. Anxiety, it equals avoidance. Letting go creates space for relationships that are aligned with your energy, your values, and your growth. Outgrowing isn't rejection of others. You know what? It's actually your evolution. You're growing. Here's step number 4, putting it all together. Guilt, boundaries, and alignment are threads in the same tapestry. When you feel guilt, reframe it as a growth signal. Use boundaries to create clarity, protect energy, and communicate needs. Your alignment check brings relief and freedom, indicating true outgrowing. any anxiety signals avoidance. Think of yourself as a ship on a vast ocean. Some people are wind in your sails, others are anchors holding you back. You cannot control them. You can only control your course. Keep moving. Invite others to paddle along if they choose. Your evolution is your responsibility. Here's an actionable challenge for you. This week, you might want to write this down. Identify one relationship where growth tension exists. Set one boundary, simple, straightforward, non-negotiable. Reflect daily. Does this boundary create freedom or fear? And journal your emotional responses, like guilt, relief, anxiety, for example. Ask yourself, is this fear or growth? This trains your nervous system to trust alignment, reinforce clarity, and make evolution feel safe. Here's the truth I want you to feel deep in your soul before we wrap up. Reinvention is your birthright. Outgrowing people isn't betraying them. It's your evolution. Setting boundaries isn't rejection. It's self-respect. Every step you take towards becoming the fullest version of yourself is a step towards freedom, clarity, and alignment. No guilt or shame necessary. Think of your life as a canvas. You're holding the brush. The colors you choose, the strokes you make, the images you paint, they're all yours. Some people will love the new masterpiece, some won't, and that's okay. Their appreciation, or lack of it, does not define the value of your evolution. Your growth is not contingent on anyone else's comfort. So if you feel the pull to pivot, to step into bigger energy, to claim your voice, do it unapologetically. Do it boldly. Do it with the confidence that every evolution opens the door to people, opportunities, and experiences that are truly aligned with who you're becoming. Remember, the courage to reinvent yourself is one of the most empowering choices you can make. You're allowed to outgrow what no longer serves you. You're allowed to create space for your next level. You are allowed to thrive in a life that reflects your values, your energy, and your true self. Finally, our affirmation for this week is, I evolve without apology. Repeat it with me 3 times. Feel it in your chest, your spine, your heartbeat. Write it down. I evolve without apology. I evolve without apology. I evolve without apology. This is why this matters. Every time you repeat it, you're sending a signal to your nervous system that growth is safe, expansion is natural, and self-honor is non-negotiable. It rewires the way you move through the world, aligning your actions with your identity. Say it until it resonates. Live it until it's effortless. Let it be the anthem of your reinvention. I evolve without apology. Thank you for being here and stepping into your power with me today. I look forward to seeing you next week for another empowering conversation. You can catch these episodes anytime on my podcast, Signals and Standards with Suzie, available on all your favorite listening platforms. You can find direct links on powercoachsuzie.com. Until next time. For daily inspiration and practical advice, find me on social media at PowerCoachSuzie. Got questions or ideas for the show? Head to powercoachsuzie.com where you can connect with me, explore the blog, or learn more about what I do. This is Suzie signing off. Until next time, keep reading the signals and never, ever lower your standards.